The Christian life is a lot harder to walk out when we try to do it alone. In this podcast, you're going to hear about real subjects from real people. I'm not here to give you an elaborate 12-step process to living your best life, and I'm definitely not here to tell you how to love God passionately so He will bless you financially. My desire is that each one of us realizes our God-given identity as sons and daughters of the King. What you will hear is from real people sharing their experiences through life and talking about their love for Jesus. I promise I won't use Christianese lingo that nobody uses in real life, and I definitely won't speak at you or above you. I do want to speak to you, and hopefully through this process, we can help each other walk out this thing called the Christian life. Welcome back to the Christian Life Podcast. Today we're going to start walking through a series I've done in the past called Live Like You Are Dying. So many times I think that in today's world, with everything that we're consumed with, we really fail at this at times. And I want to talk about, just like the song so many of us have heard, the country song, Live Like You Are Dying. I believe that God has called us to live a life now that He's called us to, and not wait any longer, not fall to so many excuses that we end up giving. But if you just listen to that song, and I love that old country song, Live Like You're Dying, you know, some of the lyrics, I asked Him when it sank in that this might really be the real end. How's it hit you when you get that kind of news? Man, what would you do? And it goes on to say what He'd do. I went skydiving. I went Rocky Mountain climbing. I went 2.7 seconds on a bull named Fu Manchu. And it goes on to say, I loved deeper, I spoke sweeter, I gave forgiveness. And I think about that song and how many other songs are just like this. You know, a lot of them are country songs. The song by Garth Brooks, If Tomorrow Never Comes, Will They Know How Much I Love Them? Will she know how much I love her? And I think we could probably come up with a lot of different songs kind of just surrounding that same issue. How many of these songs talk about regrets and questioning the end of life? You know, if you look up on the internet, many studies will show you that the top 5 regrets from the deathbed are these. And sometimes they'll change order, but a lot of these are in the top 5, a lot of those lists. Number 1, not spending more time with the people I love usually is number 1 on the list. So these are the top 5 regrets from the deathbed. Number 1, not spending more time with the people I love. Number 2, not being kinder to those I love. Number 3, not being true to myself and living life to meet others' expectations. Number 4, being afraid to express my feelings or missing out because of that. And number 5, losing touch with my friends. So listen to this. You look at that list, and what's it have to do with? Relationships, our loved ones, our friends. It didn't have to do with work or getting that promotion that we seek and we go after so hard at times. It didn't have to do with the house I live in or getting the better or bigger or newer house, or the car I drive, getting the right emblem on that front of the car, or the school my kids go to, or the status group that I hang out with, or my position, or my title, or my bank accounts. It didn't have anything to do with any of those. It had to do with the people I love. And I want to ask us this question, and I've been so challenged by this question throughout my life. Are you seizing your day, or is it seizing you? Let me explain. We've all heard the quote, everybody dies, but not everybody truly lives. We've also heard the quote that time can be my biggest resource or my biggest enemy. Because if I let it become that, because I never get it back after it's gone. And so are you seizing your day, or is it seizing you? James 4:13-15. Now listen, you who say today or tomorrow we will go to this or that city, spend a year there, carry on business, and make money. Why, you do not even know what will happen tomorrow. What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if it is the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that. Listen, when I'm talking about this, it's not an issue about living in fear. It's not about living every day thinking about my death or my end. It's coming to the realization that, listen, I don't know when my end will happen. I don't know what my death will be or when it'll happen. I know that I am called, that I was created to live now, to live the life that God has called me to. And am I seizing my day, or is my day seizing me? 2 Timothy 1:7 says this, for the Spirit of God, the Spirit that God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline. So it's not about an issue of fear, living in fear about the end. It says, listen, for the Spirit God gave us does not make us timid, but gives us power, love, and self-discipline. So let's talk about that. Power. Power that comes from His authority and His strength, which empowers us to walk in courage into whatever He has called you into today. To be able to obey His word, to obey His voice courageously. It says power, love. So love, He is that love. He tells us the most important thing is His love and the way we choose to be loved, to love Him, and to love others. We are called to live this life impacting others with His unending love. Power, love, and self-control. This is the part where we seize control of our day, our time, and commit to saying no more. No more wasted moments. No more wasted opportunities. No more wasted relationships. Self-control. This is the time when we are called to seize our day. It's about realizing that I have been given an unbelievable opportunity right now, even in the middle of the COVID-19 virus, to live now, to live the life He has created us to live. You were created to live in the now. Do you value your time? Are you seizing the day, the month, your year, your life? Or is it time, and is it the time, your calendar, your emotions, are they seizing you? Why is it that as soon as we would find out we were dying, we would have a list of these regrets that I talked about before? Or the things that we would do and the things that we would stop doing? Would we immediately begin to treat time as our most valuable resource? You know, if you've seen the funny movie Bucket List, where you have two older men who find out they're both dying and they decide to go out and fulfill their bucket list and then realize that their real desires are their families, their friends, their relationships that are still at home while they're out trying to accomplish a bucket list made up of things to do and places to go. When I'm saying seizing the day and living in the now, it's not surrounded around things to do and places to go. Is God going to take you in amazing places and have you a part of amazing things? Yes, but that's not what we're talking about. The biggest regret is not the things we did, but what we didn't do. What would you do? You have 1 month to live. How would you live? What would you do? Think about that. Would you love more? Would you take those opportunities that God's put in front of you that He's called you to? Would you spend your time worrying and fearing this or that? Would you forgive? Would you repair and ask God to help you restore a relationship? Would you serve? Would you help? Would you be generous without fear of the future? Would you give? Would you talk to those friends and family members where that relationship's been fractured? So how come we can immediately do those things or have the desire to do those things only at the point we find out that we're dying or we have a brush with death that brings up those thoughts? I'm going to tell you, just like last week we talked about, it is about our choice to serve God. So look, right now, God's showing us it is about a decision. It's a decision that I can make at the end of my life when I look at those things, or I can look at it now. How many times have we talked about not just hearing the voice of God, but actually acting on what He tells us? God is prompting you right now that it's not time to wait. It's not time to put off those things he's calling you to. It's not time to put off loving and forgiving and living the way he's called us to. He's asking the question, why not now? Why waste more time? This verse in Ephesians talks about seizing the day. Ephesians 5:15-16. Be very careful then how you live, not as unwise, but as wise, making the most of every opportunity, because the days are evil. Therefore, do not be foolish, but understand what the Lord's will is. That's a life of living on the offense, not taking for granted the time we have been given. It is seizing the day and realizing that our time is now. I've preached a message to the men on Father's Day. It was talking about stepping up, standing up, letting your voice be heard. I've spoken a message over mothers and women around the same lines, that now is the time to answer that calling on our life. No longer can we just fly under the radar as a church. No longer are we called to just get by. Just do enough to provide for your family. What are our expectations of our life? Why should it take something drastic, a tragedy, or something sad or brushed with death to open up our eyes to the fact that we're not promised tomorrow? Long time ago in the church, we used to sing a song called Enemy's Camp. We went to the enemy's camp and we took back what he stole from me. That's about seizing the day, staying on the offense, and not being lulled to sleep where it's easy for the enemy to wreak havoc in my camp, in my home, in my family, in my job, in my relationships. So when do we start? I've heard this saying, the best time to plant a tree is 25 years ago. The second best time is now. So we can either sitting around saying, how do we start? And we can become saddened by wasting time and the years we've let go by. But listen, the answer is simple. Is we repent from a passive spirit, a casual approach to life, and we ask him to help us get up and move forwards. I know your deeds, it says in Revelation 3:15-16, that you are neither cold nor hot. I wish that you were either cold or hot. So because you are lukewarm and neither hot nor cold, I will spit you out of my mouth. God says, listen, the neutral zone that we talked about is a place that we are not to live. In Psalm 18:37, I pursued my enemies and overtook them. I did not turn back until they were consumed. That's the life we're called to live. I talked about in a message I just shared that to be a giant slayer, you got to be in the battle. He's called us to pursue the enemy, to overtake them in his name, to not turn back until they were consumed. In Psalm 97:10, it says, to hate evil, you who love the Lord. That says, listen, I don't want to allow a wasteful spirit in my life. I don't want to waste any more opportunities. I want to go after that evil. I want to go after that lie from the devil. In Matthew 16:24-28, then Jesus said to his disciples, whoever wants to be my disciple must deny themselves and take up their cross and follow me. For whoever wants to save their life will lose it, but whoever loses their life for me will find it. What good will it be for someone to gain the whole world yet forfeit their soul? Or what can anyone give in exchange for their soul? For the Son of Man is going to come in his Father's glory with his angels, and then he will reward each person according to what they have done. Listen, we can sit around wasting time. We can sit around living in fear. We can sit around allowing our schedule and our emotions to dictate our life. Or we can choose this day to get up and move forward, to pursue the enemy, to live a life on the offense. We are not called to live in the neutral zone. We are called to live engaged in battle, moving forward. During this time of COVID-19 virus, it is so easy to just fall into a pattern of, okay, what's today? Well, another day just like yesterday. I'm going to get up and I'm going to eat breakfast. I might shower today. I might not. I might put on clean clothes. I might not. I might have a time of devotion. I might not. But you know what I am going to do? I'm going to consume myself with Netflix. I'm going to consume myself with sitting around or this or that. And listen, Netflix isn't the problem. Playing a game isn't the problem. All those things aren't the issue. It's that imbalanced life of allowing our day to seize control, instead of me controlling my day and seizing my day, seizing my schedule, seizing my finances, and saying, listen, in God's authority, I'm going to let him be in control. And through that, I'm not going to allow those things to seize my day and go from here to there, being tossed back and forth. I'm going to be moving forward on the offense because I am called as a warrior in his kingdom to move forward, to pursue the enemy in his name. And so during this time of the virus, God has called us to a life of action. God has called you to a life where we live life like we aren't promised tomorrow because we aren't. We choose to live a life where we are saying, listen, I don't want to waste time. I don't want to get to the end of my life and say, man, I regret not spending more time with my loved ones. I regret not spending more time in relationships. I regret not forgiving. I regret not loving. I regret. And I'm going to choose today to start living now so that when I get to the end of my life, I believe we can live a life where we can get to the end of life and where that statement that we see in the word that is so challenging. And it's so awesome when we read it. Well done, good and faithful servant. Where he is able to speak that over our life and we have no regrets because we chose to live in our life now. The life he's called us to. The calling that he has on your life. The identity that he has spoken over you from before you were born. The destiny that he had in mind before he even created you. That's who you are, the life you're supposed to live in now. And the lie from the devil is to sit and be controlled by the day. And guess what happens? We never realize our full potential in Jesus Christ. We never realize our full destiny that God created us for because we were seized by every day. We were seized by our financial checkbooks. We were seized by our schedule, by our emotions, by our jobs, by the ever-ending pursuit of happiness that the world tells us to go after, the bigger house, the better car, this relationship, that thing over there, that thing over there. Listen, guys, I don't want to waste time. I don't know if I'm going to be on this earth for a long time or a short time. What I do know is that he's called me and created me with purpose, and I don't want to miss out on that. You don't want to miss out on that. God has a plan for you to move forward, to be engaged in the battle, to be a giant slayer. And so I just want to encourage you. It's a little shorter today, but I felt like this is the direction I wanted to go. And I'm going to share some more on this, but I want you to dive in and look at and begin to allow God to examine your schedule, examine your heart, examine your checkbook and say, Lord, am I seizing the day or is the day seizing me? God, I need you. God, I want your direction and your guidance. God, I want to live in the now and not get to the end of my life and have regrets. I want to love and I want to forgive. I want to be a person, a child of God of action, because that's what you've called us to be. And so just want to encourage you. You are a child of the King. He's created you with purpose. He's created you with destiny. He's created you with a plan. And the time is now to live in it. So please dive into his word. Draw into him, asking, Lord, give me a vision of what you have for me. And maybe I've gotten off path, and maybe I've kind of allowed the day to seize me and my schedule and all these other things. And Lord, I repent of that. And God, I don't want to live in the neutral zone. I want to live in the now. I want to live like I am dying. So guys, thank you so much for coming back to the Christian Life Podcast. We're going to dive into this subject. I hope you're being encouraged by these words. If I could just give you an encouragement each week to draw into him, that's the idea of this, is that we walk this Christian life out together as a body. It's really tough when we're alone, especially in a time like now. And so it's a time where we need to come together as a body and draw into the King of Kings. And so I love you. Thank you for checking back. Continue to check back. Continue to share this podcast as we get this out there and be able to just encourage each person that gets on and listen to these. Love you. Thank you so much. Have a great week. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Christian Life Podcast. please remember to subscribe and also check out the links provided in the description below for different ways to connect with me on social media. I hope to have you back each week as we put out new episodes and as we walk out this thing called the Christian life.